Let me put my economist hat on first of all. You see global demand, you see what happens with supply chains, you see a lot of things going on at the moment. Is there a major shift happening? Are you seeing anything discernible in your numbers? Is the consumer slowing down? Is there any evidence of a shift in terms of where demand is happening? Are you seeing any evidence on the tariff story? We'll dig into this more detail, but I'm just kind of wondering if all the uncertainty that people talk about is actually generating anything material in what you're seeing in your figures.
Absolutely not. On the 3 points that you mentioned, there is no sign on our network of anything of that ilk happening whatsoever. We're just entering to the summer peak season. Our flights are all booked full, in fact booked through till the winter. As far as the uncertainties, we're kind of used to all of this. I think the markets are so much more resilient now. They went through a difficult time during COVID, and that has strengthened their resolve to keep moving. I'm not alone in that. Every time I talk to other members of the community that we are all competing with each other, they say the same thing. It's so far so good. There have been some problem areas. We know about North America, Canada, to an extent the North Atlantic. But so long as there is a state of change, as we know that's going on at the moment, with regard to tariffs coming off, tariffs coming on, off, levels falling, levels increasing, I think people are just keeping their powder dry, waiting to see what's going to happen.
But that's not causing people to stop spending. They're still spending in the way that they were.
They are. They continue to do that at fair levels, which are very healthy as far as we're concerned.
Right.
So we have a very good situation with the fuel price situation.
Does that allow you to lower prices? Does that allow you to, if there is uncertainty in the market, is fuel the compensating?
Our price points are set by the demand and what the demand will take. The extraordinary thing about post-COVID work, the elasticities equations and mathematics changed significantly. The price-sensitive discretionary income segments became much more robust, and we're prepared to pay more and travel more frequently. That's a high-class problem for us. So at this point in time, with our break-evens at the levels they are that we haven't seen before, the prices they are, we're making good money, and I think. Again, I'm not alone in this. The airline community is a profitable entity at the moment. How long that'll last, I don't know, Guy. But in the end, one thing is for sure. If there was a paradigm shift in demand patterns as a result of COVID, it was to the north, not south, as everybody thought it would be, particularly in the premium cabins, which are the strongest they've ever been for us.
Are you getting an inkling that you're about to see the manufacturers, the OEMs, the Boeings and the Airbuses and the engine manufacturers raising prices? Because they are being affected by tariffs at the moment. They are seeing that impact. Is that something that they're ultimately going to try and pass on to you?
Well, in the end, we'll have to have that conversation. I don't believe...
Do you expect to have that conversation?
I think it may happen, but they're not in a position at the moment to say exactly what is going to happen to their cost structures because they don't know what the supply chain effect is going to be. If you have 140% tariffs in one day and then it's down to 10% the next day, they've got to just take stock and take a medium to long-term view as to what their costs are going to do, and then have a conversation with us as to what that may be. As far as we're concerned at the moment, they can absorb that. They need to absorb that. Until it gets to a point where it's not absorbable, if I can use that word, and then we have that conversation. But it's too early to engage and say your price is going up 10%, your price is going up 5%, etc. Because as soon as things change positively, then we would expect those prices to come off. So you get a situation where the negotiation with these vendors, the OEMs or whatever, becomes difficult, complex, and a little bit timely, and in the end it's time wasting. So let's just sit tight, see what happens, see whether it stabilizes, and at that point, if it is as adverse as people think they may, personally I don't think that'll be the case, then we'll have the conversation.
Do you get a sense, talking of the OEMs, that the Trump administration is going to smooth the path for Boeing to get the aircraft that they've promised, the MAX 10 on the narrow-body fleet, the 777X, the aircraft you've ordered an awful lot of. Do you think there is a conversation that is happening between the White House, the FAA and Boeing to get this process moving a little bit more quickly?
I think there is a clear understanding in all those stakeholders that you mentioned that Boeing needs all the help it can get. There will be a kind of counterbalance to this deal. Boeing will be required to produce aircraft in the manner they always used to do. They are safe to operate, they are well produced, they have quality control throughout the whole process. And I know Kelly Ortberg is working really hard to try and get the production line at the shop floor level, with both him and Stephanie both engaged in Seattle. They're not in Chicago, watching this very closely. So part of the deal is make our aircraft, your aircraft, really good as they always used to be, and we will try and make it easier. I'm not saying we're going to cut corners. My own surmise of this is that it's in everybody's interest for these aeroplanes, you mentioned the MAX 10, the MAX 7, the 777, to come out of the door as quickly as possible, because essentially they're very, very good aeroplanes. The MAX 10 will be a superb extension of the 737. The 7 is a smaller version of that. And of course, with over 500 orders on the 777X, which are replacing the ER, 300ER, many of which are coming to the end of their lives, this is absolutely vital that Boeing get this job done well. So you do the right thing by us, and we'll try and make sure, this is probably the White House or the government of the United States, to make sure that things are done as well as they can be, given the pressures that the FAA is under.
We just saw a moment ago reports on what happened with the attacks, the Ukrainian attacks into Russia overnight. You fly into Moscow, you fly to Russia. We're seeing airports being closed. I think it's 4 airports around Moscow being closed on a regular basis at the moment. How are you managing that? Does the problem that generates make you think I can use that aircraft more profitably, more easily somewhere else? Are you rethinking what you're doing in terms of how you're accessing that market?
Well, this isn't the first time it's happened. It's been going on for 2 or 3 years.
It is getting more and more
This latest event was a little bit more worrying. We have very, very strong cast iron contingency operational plans with regard to the approaches into Russian both airspace and in the terminal area of Moscow. So if there's any sign of trouble, we're out. We just pull back. We have enough fuel to do it. Now, as things get a little bit more acute, if I can use that word, we'll be reviewing all of this. It's not a question of the opportunity cost on the Moscow operation or the St. Petersburg operation, because they're both very strong. The demand is very strong, and we have a 380 going daily into Moscow. So we'll just watch and see. I'm not going to say we're going to stop flying, or we'll be more measured about how we go about this, but we will never compromise safety of operation.
Just one final quick question. There's also a lot of concern about people flying into the United States at the moment, and it's not evidence-based, it's just kind of anecdotal. Do you expect that to become something that becomes a factor as well? Do you think the US market is becoming less welcoming, and as a result people are going to travel there less? Well,
if there's anything that will cause a blip in the demand patterns for the US, it could be that. But you know, once you impose a new set of conditions and protocols, there's a lot of noise around the initiation of that. But after that, it's settled down. People want to travel to the United States. They then take extra time to go through the protocols that the United States government is introducing. So, but the fact is, there are 330,000 students just out of India going into the US every year. And all of these will be affected by the change. However, if they pass muster as far as the Americans are concerned with regard to their requirements, they'll go anyway. So it's just a question of adjusting to the new processes and protocols. So noise at first, then it'll settle down.